Hey everybody, welcome back to the Texas A&M Agriculture Law YouTube channel. I'm Tiffany Lashman. We're here today to run down some of the biggest agricultural law stories for the month of September. We've got a list, so let's get started. Number one on the list is there were a couple of new laws that were passed here in Texas that have gone into effect over the last couple of months, and we had legal challenges to two of those laws that were filed this year. So first of all, Texas passed a land ownership law related to whether certain foreign individuals, businesses, or governments can own land here in Texas. We addressed this law in much more detail on a podcast episode we did with J. Pete Laney, giving a review of the Texas legislative session as it relates to agriculture. We'll link to that in the notes below. That law, however, was challenged. And so there was a group of Chinese nationals who challenged that law, claiming it was unconstitutional as it would prohibit certain folks from different countries, businesses or entities created in different countries, and foreign governments from certain countries from owning property in Texas. The court recently, federal court here in Texas, dismissed that lawsuit, finding that those plaintiffs did not have standing. In other words, they were just not the proper plaintiffs to bring that challenge because the law wouldn't have applied to them or had it caused them specific harm. Would not surprise me at all to see another challenge brought by a different group of plaintiffs. We've certainly seen that to similar laws in other states, so we'll see how that plays out. The second law, a lawsuit was filed challenging, is a lab-grown meat ban. So again, more information on that can be found in our podcast episode with J. Pete Laney. But we will say here that there was a ban on lab-grown meat in Texas, and that ban was put in place through 2027. Lawsuit's been challenged, claiming that that ban is unconstitutional. As the date of this recording, there's been no action taken on that, but that lawsuit was filed in federal court. Number three, big news regarding the lesser prairie chicken came out this month. Kind of step one to this story was that there was a dismissal of the lesser prairie chicken listing. So it was basically delisted under the Endangered Species Act. That came out of a federal district court here in Texas. Essentially what happened there is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services kind of backed off and basically said, we didn't handle this correctly. We didn't consider the proper information. And so they kind of agreed this animal should be delisted. They did say that they are going to go ahead and continue their findings, do the proper analysis that they say was not handled before, and they expect to have new findings by the end of 2026. So initially that was the ruling. That ruling has now been appealed. And I'll tell you, it was appealed by a group of animal rights or kind of environmental groups that were involved in the lawsuit. They were denied the right to intervene in the lawsuit by the district court judge. They would have come in and defended the actions of Fish and Wildlife. That was denied by that district court judge. That's being appealed now. So we will see how that plays out on appeal. Next up, there has been an important decision made from the federal district court in the District of Columbia. My friend Paul Gehringer and I wrote an article about this for the Southern Ag Today newsletter. We'll link to that below as well. This case, the deal here, and this has been going on for, almost a decade now, probably. There's been some confusion and some argument about whether or not the air emission reporting requirements apply to livestock and poultry operations. There's two different laws, federal laws. One's called CERCLA, one's called EPCRA. They both have reporting requirements. And a couple, probably 5 years ago now, Congress stepped in under CERCLA and said livestock and poultry operations are exempt. They don't have to report air emissions. Congress didn't make a similar exception under EPCRA, but this court decision, the court held that because they weren't required to report under CERCLA, they're not required to report under EPCRA as well. So I think most folks in the livestock and poultry industry would say that that was a win for their industries, given the difficulty and expense of having to report under those statutes. The last thing I'll say is if you are an agricultural lawyer across the country, I want to make sure you're aware of the American Agricultural Law Association Conference that's coming up the first full week of November in Scottsdale, Arizona. We will link in the notes below again to some information about that. But if you are an agricultural lawyer or if you're a law student interested in agricultural law, this is a great networking opportunity. I will be there. I'll be happy to meet you and show you around and introduce you to folks. So we'd love to have you join us in Scottsdale. You can check out the information in the link below. As always, you can find us every week on our Texas Agriculture Law blog. And twice a month, make sure you're subscribed and checking out our Ag Law in the Field podcast. Thanks so much. We appreciate you being here.